We are not physical beings living a physical experience. We are spiritual beings living a physical experience. This video will prove it. Before anything else, I need to explain how we are enslaved not only physically to the system, but mentally, we're enslaving ourselves. For example, if you're religious, you're being enslaved to a fictional being because you're scared to go to hell, but that's what I'm going to get into in a later video. Here are some ways they're making you enslave yourself. As an example, let's say you were bullied in school, and the bully was talking shit, calling you stupid or dumb, and then he moves away a year later. Now you're feeling bad about yourself, and you keep thinking about it, trying to tell yourself that you're not stupid. So what do? You ask someone for some advice on how to get over it. They tell you not to think about it, focus on the positives in life, so that's what you do. Because you chose not to think about it, you now feel better in the moment, but when any thought comes up in your head about you getting bullied, you don't want to think about it, so you're limiting your thoughts to that or anything that reminds you of you getting bullied. At the same time, you start building up this ego where you tell yourself what to do to avoid shit like that so it won't happen again, instead of going with your natural instinct. Now you feel more controlled and less like yourself, changing your new natural. Now because you didn't want to get your emotions out, naturally, you start believing that what the bully said was true, and because now you're limiting your thinking, by the time you're an adult, you're not thinking at your full capacity, so you're not smart enough to realize that we're being enslaved. And the whole world thinks they're free because they can't see the cage. If you let out your inner emotions through venting to yourself, writing, working out, punching a punching bag, or whatever's the best way for you, you're going into peace with your past experiences, and you're going to return to a level of thinking that you're supposed to be at. This process is called shadow work. Shadow work can help you raise your vibrations. What's a vibration? Like when Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything and everyone has a vibration. Some things and some people are operating on a high vibration, meaning they give off good vibes, they're naturally happier than others, and they're more energized. Those on a lower vibration might give off bad vibes, and they're naturally tired and grumpy. We'll get into vibrations later in this video, but for now we're going to talk about the third eye. Most people's third eyes are closed. Your third eye, aka your pineal gland, is a portal to different dimensions and psychic abilities. Your pineal gland releases DMT when you go to sleep, which moves your consciousness into different realms. Your third eye releases a huge amount of DMT when you die, which brings your consciousness into the fifth dimension, aka heaven. If you want more proof of heaven, you can look up stories of near-death experiences. If your third eye is not open enough when you die, it cannot release enough DMT to bring your soul into heaven, aka the fifth dimension, so your ass stays here and reincarnates into a new body. Like what Albert Einstein said, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. Now if you want more proof of reincarnation, look up Dorothy Eady. As this article says, at the age of 3, after falling down a flight of stairs, she began exhibiting strange behaviors, asking that she be brought home. She had also developed foreign accent syndrome. This caused some conflict in her early life. Her Sunday school teacher requested that her parents keep her away from class because she had compared Christianity with heathen, ancient Egyptian religion. She was expelled from Dulwich Girls' School after she refused to sing a hymn that called on God to curse the swart Egyptians. Her regular visits to Catholic Mass, which she liked because it reminded her of the old religion, were terminated after an interrogation and visit to her parents by a priest. Alright? She continued her study of ancient Egypt at Eastbourne Public Library. When she was 15, she described a nocturnal visit from the mummy of Pharaoh Seti I. Her behavior, coupled with sleepwalking and nightmares, led her to be incarcerated in the sanatorium several times. On leaving school at 16, she visited museums and archaeological sites around Britain, facilitated by her father's investigations into the nationwide booming cinema industry. Now here's where it gets interesting. In 1931, she moved to Egypt after Imam Abdel Meguid, by now a teacher of English, asked her to marry him. On arriving in Egypt, she kissed the ground and announced that she had come home to stay, meaning that her visions of her past life were right. Now if you want to know more about Dorothy Eady, I'll leave a link for you in the description, but if you think this is bogus, tell me this. When you were 3 years old, were you smart enough to come up with a lie like that you could have kept with your whole life? And did you even know what the fuck Egypt was when you were that young? I don't fucking think so. The reason why she was able to remember her past life and we can't is because when she fell down that flight of stairs, something clearly happened to her head. And I was talking to someone about this before, and they think that she really just kept this lie with her whole life because she was a smart 3-year-old, and he said that she was able to keep lying her whole life because of her brain injury, not allowing her to do anything else. Which makes no fucking sense, by the way. If you're watching this, you know who the fuck you are. But if her brain injury really did fuck with her head, then how was she smart enough to come up with those lies at 3 years old? It's time to wake up. Anyways, I mentioned the fifth dimension earlier in this video. What is the fifth dimension? The fifth dimension is what people call heaven, where you go when you die. or at least when some people die. There are 12 dimensions to this universe, but in this video we'll only cover 5. The 4th dimension is where you go when you dream, and the 3rd dimension is the physical world. Some people say that anytime you have a bad dream, it was your ancestors that were on a higher vibration trying to scare you off a bad path that you were on, because they can go from the 4th and 5th dimension, and in the 5th dimension, time doesn't exist, so they can see the past, present, and future. If you find out that you're in a dream, then you can control it. That's called lucid dreaming. On the 4th dimension, anything is possible, and if you practice something on the 4th dimension, it will help you in real life. For example, I know someone who practiced their wheelies in a lucid dream, and they were able to do it in the 3rd dimension. Your ability to remember your dreams is a good way to tell how open your 3rd eye is. Another way to see it is the 1st dimension is you having an idea, the 2nd is you writing down your idea on a piece of paper, and the 3rd is you bringing it to the physical world. How do I know they're different realms? Because when you sleep, and when you take DMT, time is different. When you're on DMT, it will feel like 2 days have gone by when the trip was really only 15 minutes long. How is that possible if it was on the same realm? But like what I said earlier, now we're going back to vibrations. Most people are on low vibrations and have their 3rd eyes closed because of the shit they eat, the shit they drink, shit they see on TV, shit they believe, bringing them into depression, and shit they do to other people. Karma is very real. You do something bad to someone, something bad will come back to you. You do something good will come back to you. It could be tomorrow, in a year, in 10 years, or even your next life, but it will come back to you at some point. I'm not saying let people walk all over you, but don't go around starting shit with people. You cannot ascend into the 5th dimension until you go through all your bad karma. Anyways, because of those things, people's vibrations get lower and lower every day. We were all born on high vibrations with our 3rd eyes open. That's why kids can see ghosts. Now you also need to understand that humans are electrical beings. How do I know that? Why do I know that? Let's take it back to elementary school. What happened when you touch someone? You shocked them. You might think it was because we were running around for a long time, building up static electricity, but if that was the case, why doesn't it happen to football players after a football game, or bodybuilders after they work out? Now why doesn't it happen to us anymore? Because now that we're older, we've been in the system for way longer, so we've been losing our electrical charge for a longer period of time. Even when we were in elementary school, we still had the ability to shock someone with our hands. Think about that. Even after 5 to 12 years of eating and drinking this toxic ass food, and after we've been doing more to lower our vibrations, we still have the power to shock someone with our bare hands. Think about that. If our vibrations were high enough, we would have way more electrical charge. What exactly does this mean? What can be controlled by electricity? Fire. If we raise our vibrations enough, we could have the ability to control fire. Here's the video proving it.
Zooming out, you can see I have 2 plates on opposite sides of the flame. Now the plate on the right is connected to the top of my voltage multiplier, charged to negative 400,000 volts. Now the plate on the left is ground voltage, but compared to negative 400,000 volts, it essentially acts as a positive charge. Now these 2 separate charges on opposite sides of the flame will function in a manner of pulling the ions in separate directions, essentially splitting the flame. Turning on the power, you see an effect. Though it seems quite spastic, different parts of the flame are trying to go in opposite directions. Here's the wicked science behind splitting our flame. The plate on the left is charged positively, pulling the negative ions of the flame towards it. The plate on the right is the opposite. It's negatively charged, pulling the positive ions of the flame in that direction. Since our flame is composed of these charged particles, or ions, the flame essentially splits in 2. Now you have to ask yourself, when have you ever seen this?
The answer is you don't see it because this is what they don't want you to know. If our electrical charge is naturally higher than the metal plates, we can do the same shit. And another ability we can have is telekinesis. Here's why.
Right. Now using only my telepathic powers, I'm gonna see if I can move this straw. Ready? I'll get it to spin all the way around. And in the other direction. Now I know what you're thinking. He's secretly moving the table without telling us. No, I'm just kidding. It's all about the science. Let me explain.
Now we've learned about static electricity on other episodes of Impossible Science, but this time you are the secret. By secretly rubbing a plastic straw against paper before we do this effect, I generate static electricity. Negatively charged electrons jump from the paper to the plastic, making our straw have an excess of negatively charged electrons. When your skin gets near negatively charged electrons, the electrons on the straw repel the negatively charged electrons on your skin. This causes the electrons on your skin to move out of the way. As the electrons disperse, they leave behind a small area on your skin where there are more protons than electrons, making just that section a small local area with a positive charge. With your skin slightly positively charged and your straw slightly negatively charged, the straw is now attracted to you. Opposites attract. Did you see me charge up the straw with paper? Take a closer look.
Now see, what this guy didn't know is that if we raise our vibration high enough, we wouldn't even need to charge up our hands because they would naturally have an electrical charge. If you want to watch both these videos from start to end, I'll leave a link in the description. Anyways, like what they mentioned in the other video, we will be the neutral charge, acting like a positive against a highly charged negative object. If we want to raise our vibrations even higher, we can move bigger objects. If you think this is wild enough, it gets crazier. Like what this article says, nobody knows who was here 12,000 years ago. The 3 smaller pyramids at Giza were probably built by the Egyptians, as they could be built by men, but it's impossible that the bigger ones were, simply from the size of them. They've got 2,250,000 blocks in them, and each block weighs about 250 tons. We couldn't even move it with all the equipment we have today, so it had to have been done by a civilization that was more advanced than any of us. But was it really a lost civilization? It's possible, but my theory is the ancient Egyptians used telekinesis to build the pyramids because back then, everyone had their third eye open like how they were supposed to. The reason why mainstream history and the school system told you that the pyramids were built by slaves is to make you think that the natural humans were evil and that they're so much better, civilized, and more evolved nowadays. School is meant to calcify your pineal gland to lead you into thinking that we're physical beings living a physical experience. That's the reason why we start school so early, because when these kids get more developed and they still have their third eye open, they might start to figure out some of this stuff on their own, and that's what they don't want. Now the question you all been waiting for, what happens when you do open your third eye? You become more aware of how your life's going, you become smarter, more focused, you start to see through holes in people's stories and theories, and you start questioning things more. Things that you don't think about a lot, you'll start to think about them more, and things that you overthink about, you'll have a better understanding than them. If you think that this whole vibration third eye thing is bullshit, then you have to ask yourself this: how come when you were a kid, you felt more aware of everything, and you were way more excited and happy than you are now? Now, you feel more depressed and a lot emptier. Why do you think that is? Do you think that's just naturally how we're supposed to exist? Hell no, it's because of the shit we do in our everyday life. And one more thing I forgot to mention earlier, just because you're happy of one thing doesn't mean you're on a high vibration, and just because you're sad of one thing doesn't make your vibration low. For example, let's say you just bought this new car and you're happy as fuck. That doesn't make your vibration high, because eventually you'll get used to it and you'll be back at the same vibration. Your vibration is finding your inner peace and doing what's good for you. You're on a high vibration when you naturally feel good, just because. You should still allow yourself to feel good when something good happens, but you should also be trying to find your inner peace and raise your natural vibration. And if you want to open your third eye, here's what you have to do. For one thing, you have to avoid fluoride. Fluoride calcifies your pineal gland and is toxic as fuck. Now see, they used to use fluoride as rat poison. Now tell me this, do you want rat poison in your water and your toothpaste, even if it's a small amount? The reason why they say to put fluoride in our water is to protect people's teeth who can't afford toothpaste, but let's be honest, since when has the government really cared about our teeth? If you want to avoid fluoride, you should drink smart water instead of tap water, because smart water has no fluoride at all. Brands like Fiji have less fluoride than tap water, but they still do have fluoride in them. Another thing you should do is take cold showers, so the fluoride in the water doesn't get into your bloodstream. You should also invest in some fluoride-free toothpaste. If you have the money, you should look into cupping water filters for your house to block out the fluoride, so you don't have to worry about cold showers and store-bought water. Sodas have a fuck ton of fluoride in them, so you should also stop drinking sodas. And that's another thing too, your diet. You should be on a full vegan alkaline diet, but that's a lot to explain, so Food Guy will be my next video. In the meantime, you should research Dr. Seabuy and either buy your food from the organic non-GMO section of the supermarket, or better yet, a local farmer's market. Another thing that's important is your music. Most of the mainstream music is played at 440 Hz music because they know it's a bad frequency, lowering your vibration. If you ever wonder why when you start turning up and listening to your music for too long, you have a massive headache and you start feeling just empty and depressed, that's why. The music you listen to should be 432 Hz, which is good for the third eye. I know from personal experience that when you listen to 432 Hz music, I don't get the headaches and shit that I do from listening to this 440 Hz bullshit. Depending on what chakra you want to open, there are different frequencies that are better for each one. But once again, your chakras are a whole new video. They're just a fuck ton of videos I have to make. And anyway, you should also spend less time on your screens. Now, if you do everything I mentioned, but you aren't spiritual, you won't lower your vibration, or at least as much as you normally would, but you won't make any progress. You have to be spiritual if you want to make progress. If you meditate 3 times a day, once when you wake up, once in the afternoon or during lunchtime, and once before you go to sleep, you will make progress. Meditation can be breathing techniques, or it can simply be just observing your thoughts so you can get to know yourself better. I would make a video on how to meditate, but there are already 1,000 videos on how to meditate that you can look at. One thing that's crucial is sun gazing. Sun gazing is real as fuck, let me tell you. First time you do it, you'll already notice a difference. That's why in school they told you that you'll go blind from sun gazing in like 1st grade, so you wouldn't even try it. Once again, there are already a shit ton of videos on how to sun gaze, so you can look up yourself. I might make my own video on how to sun gaze at some point. It depends on how many of you know. Now, I'm not saying stare directly into the sun for like 30 minutes straight at like noon, but it should be done in either the first hour after sunrise or the last hour before sunset. Now, I'm not trying to fuck up nobody's eyesight, so if it hurts your eyes, then stop doing it. The more you do it, the longer you'll be able to look at the sun. Spending time in nature is also a way to raise your vibration, whether it's going on a hike or swimming in a lake. Physical exercise and shadow work will also help you raise your vibration, and you should also look into supplements that are good for spiritual growth, but be careful about it because a lot of them are bullshit. Anyways, that's about it for this video. People think it's just the fluoride in the water and the 9-to-5 slavery, but this channel is here to say it is way more than that. They got you all the way fucked up. They are literally making your whole life into a lie, and these coming videos will explain why they're making your life into a lie and how. But yeah, that's it for this video. My next video will be a food guide. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'm out.